People are great at planning the future, but that doesn't stop massive failure from happening.
The biggest risks are the ones that you never saw coming, and they are the ones that actually matter.
This video shows why understanding what doesn't change could be your best shot at handling what you can't predict.
If you are new here, welcome to the Future Builders podcast by Empowered Liion. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Ballerina. We quit a corporate job and build a lifestyle business that gives us control over our time, income, and freedom.
Now we are sharing how you can do this as well.
Yay! As a human being, we always chase after the things that sounds good, looks good. However, for those who get it early, might be able to get the reward or the benefits. However, those latecomers, usually nothing left for them.
Instead of keep chasing the next innovation, the next technology, think about what drives them behind. And the reasons are usually tied to our human nature, such as greed, fear, uncertainty, curiosity, and these emotions don't change.
So today we are going to introduce you with this book called Same as Ever by Morgan Housel. So inside this book, there are actually 23 lessons, but we actually consolidated them and choose only 8 lessons that we think resonate with us the most, and they might be very useful to you too. It can help you to make better decisions, not only on your career path, but also in your life choices as well.
Now, let's move on to the first most important lesson that we learned. Risk is what you don't see. This is a quote exactly from the book. It says, "We are very good at predicting the future except for the surprises, which tend to be all that matter."
Yep, so we always do a lot of planning from plan A to plan B. Then some people might make a plan C as well. Everything plans well, but there's actually some minor details that we don't actually put any attention on it. So those minor things can bring a very huge impact to us actually.
Yes, and when we talk about minor things, we are talking about like millions of things that could happen, and it is impossible for us to make a plan for everything. So I'm going to give you one example also written in the book. So this is a real story from NASA. So NASA last time they were trying to test a new space suit. So they got a test pilot and testing this spacesuit using hot air balloon. So you know the hot air balloon just flew the person up very high and then tested all the things with the spacesuit and everything was perfect. So after that, like the hot air balloon just descend. So descend the person into the sea so that the personnel at the sea can go and rescue the person, the pilot. So when descending, right, because all the experiment has done, there's nothing much needs to be performed already. So the pilot like just took the fresh air by opening the face shield on the spacesuit itself. And then you know what happened?
What's next?
Okay, so after the hot air balloon descended on the sea, so usually the pilot right, will just lie on the sea and then wait for the boat to arrive. But because the shield was open, the face shield was open, then the water actually comes into the spacesuit itself. So the person eventually get drowned because of this.
I guess the experiment team, the scientists, that never expect this kind of incident to be happen because they thought everything goes smoothly, every procedure that go according to the plan initially, and they never expect that the water will actually go inside the spacesuit through the facial.
Yeah, because the spacesuit is designed to be floating on water because this is just a very basic, simple thing that need to prevent. Yeah, but they never expect the person actually just open up the ship.
Yup. So actually, they have spent a lot of time on the planning stage. They plan from step one to the last step, what should they do, and what people are supposed to do what thing. So I think the pilot opening the faceplate is actually out of their expectation. They have never expected this kind of thing to be happening, but just nice it happened.
Yeah, so risk is not about what you expect it is coming. Risk is about what you are not accounting for. And these are the ones that will either make you to be successful or just kill you directly.
So through this story from NASA, we actually learned that risk is actually things that we don't see usually. We never expect them to be happening. We never know things will turn out like this. So we never ever look down at the small tiny details because it could cause a lot. So moving on to the second lesson that we learned from the book, which can be very essential, and I believe all of us who are listening to this podcast should reflect on this matter because we always stuck in the cycle of greed and fear.
Yeah, so there's a very common life cycle that we experience on almost everything that we face in the real life. So it goes like this. First, you assume a good news is permanent. Then you are unaware of the bad news. Then, when the bad news starts to pop up, you choose to ignore the bad news. Then you deny the bad news. Then what happens next is when the bad news become more and more imminent, you start to be panicked at the bad news, and then you accept the bad news eventually.
Then for the story behind goes like this. Then once you accept the bad news already, you again assume that it is permanent. So the bad situation there is permanent, you can't change anything, and you accept this as a fact. Then you again unaware of the good news because you're stuck in a situation that is full of the bad news, but you just choose to close your eyes or close your ears, choose not to listen or be aware of the good news that could be happening. Then you ignore the good news, and once the good news comes to you, you choose to deny it. You don't believe that the good news will be happening on you. So you deny it. You choose not to listen to the good news, not to accept the opportunity. Then slowly, as more good news coming in, you start to accept the good news. Once you have done that, you assume that the good situation, the good news is permanent. Again, you're stuck in this cycle. So you once you accept that the good news, then you trust that the good news, the good situation is forever, then you choose not to pay attention to the bad news, you deny it, you don't trust it that bad news will be happening on you, then slowly you accept the bad news and you go back to the cycle again and again. You never get out of it.
Yeah, so I want to share a story back in January this year, or even like last November when Donald Trump was elected as the president. So, because everyone knows that Donald Trump, when he was elected, it is actually very bullish for the stock market. Yeah, but what happened was that he actually did a lot of things, a lot of orders that make like tariffs, for example, to be very bad. So the stock market start to crash. But at this time, people they are still believe that Donald Trump will be the savior of the market. But in January onwards until April, the stock market just went all down. All the markets, like stock market, the crypto market, all goes down. And then people start to realize that, oh no, Donald Trump is not a good guy in the stock market. And then they start selling the stocks, whatever, at a loss. But what happened was that he just did something that is completely opposite again. Then in May, right now, the market has actually come back up. But people, they are still living in the despair, that fear that the stock market could crash again. So this is how people are living in a cycle of greed and fear, and then they keep accepting either the bad news or the good news is permanent, and they are late to adapt.
Yes, so at first they thought Donald Trump would be a good news to those investors because the guy Donald Trump, he helped the stock market to become very bullish. So they're stuck in the good news. They trust that the good news is permanent. Then who knows, the stock market become very bearish. Then they believe that the bad news again is permanent. So they're afraid of the stock market already. They want to sell all the stock, all the shares that they have at the moment. Then who knows, the stock market actually went up eventually. Then they're still stuck in the cycle of fear. They're afraid of the cycle will go down again. So they don't want to receive the good news at all. So the only solution is to trust that nothing is permanent, no matter it's good or it's bad. Just like the forest monk or the author of the book, I May Be Wrong, who is beyond Nautical Lindeborg, said it best. He said, "This too shall pass."
So when we accept nothing is permanent, when we embrace the impermanence, then we can take a step back, look at this situation at the bigger picture, then we can make better life choices ahead.
Yes, so whenever something good happening on you, you must always do some preparation when the bad times is coming. So when you're stuck in a bad situation right now, you are experiencing the downtime of your life, don't be disappointed or upset because after rain, there's always a rainbow.
Now let's move on to lesson number 3. Too much, too soon, and too fast. This is the quote from the book. Most things have a natural size and speed and backfire quickly when you push them beyond that.
So the mindset of being better has driven the human progress for centuries. But sometimes pushing too hard actually backfires because we always want things to be faster, faster, and even faster. But we actually forgot that everything has its own speed, and only with its initial speed it can grow even better.
Yeah, so here's an example in the book. You know, for the trees in the forest, right? For the young trees, they will grow slowly if there are a lot of bigger, taller trees above it. Because the big trees in the forest, they will just block the sunlight for the younger trees, right? So the younger trees will receive less sunlight, means it will have slower growth. But this slower growth, it doesn't mean that it is a bad thing. Because when the plant grows slowly, it will have more time to grow its roots underground and make it more stable, have better fundamentals.
However, one day later, actually, there's a staff who think that this is too slow. He wants things to be very fast because, the staff in the government is actually rushing them to plant more trees. So he actually started to look for open field with no shelter, no trees, nothing at all on this field. It's an empty field. So he plants trees there. He just hoping that the trees will grow even faster by receiving more sunlight and also the rain. However, when the sunlight actually just directly shine on the seeds and the soils, then the wood stays very soft, airy, and very weak.
Yeah, this is because the young trees doesn't have enough time to make their own wood stronger and more dense. So when it quickly grows into a fully grown tree, fungus will attach on the woods. And when the wood is weak, that is where the trees will collapse much faster.
So it actually doesn't go well with the goals of the staff because the staff initially, he or she just wanted the tree to grow faster so that he can achieve the goals very fast. However, Faster doesn't mean better, but sometimes you get things too fast, it will bring a huge negative impact just like this. Things doesn't go well, however, he or she must go through the same process again and again for better woods. So think that about this, I think Asian kid situation really similar to this story because since we are young, our parents love to send us for a lot of tuition classes, wanting our results to be very good. And other than that, they will send us to those core curricular activities like those art classes, music classes. They just want us to be very talented. However, they forgot that we actually need some time to be aware of what we really want in life. And actually, learning too much at one time will make us feel very stressed, and eventually, we can't absorb any knowledge, any skills at all.
And it will backfire. Maybe the kid will be sick, or it will hate those school anymore, and so on.
So if you want something to be better or stronger, you must not rush the process. You must let it follow its own pace, and only through this long process, then you will get the results that you are looking for.
Exactly. Now let's move on to lesson number 4. Little things compound into extraordinary things.
A study in 2010 by Yale University actually states that the cause of increase in obesity is not people eating more during their proper meals like the breakfast, lunch, or dinner, but the biggest problem actually is when the person eating a lot of small snacks during the day. So even their meals is just nice portion, a normal portion, but they keep eating a lot of snacks, the ice cream, chips, French fries during the day. This is the main problem of causing them having obesity.
It actually recalls me of this technology called ChatGPT. Everyone knows that by now. So ChatGPT was introduced in November 2022, and suddenly the world are obsessed in it, and it is like the game-changing technology. But the thing is, OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, was founded in 2015, which is 8 years before the actual useful software ChatGPT was released. But the word machine learning, it was introduced in 1959, which is like 60 years ago. So it is not about one sudden major shift or sudden news that will change the entire game, but it is all the minor progress over the years that led to the birth of ChatGPT.
Just like a genius actually doesn't born to be a genius, but behind the scene is actually involve a lot of effort, a lot of hard work to make the person become a genius. Also, another example that is mentioned in the book about a tragic event. So, two planes actually crashed in the Tenerife airport, Spain in 1977, and total victims or death is about 583 people. So the crash is actually happening on the ground, not even in the air. Why does this happen?
Because there's one plane was on the runway ready to take off, and taking off, the speed of the airplane is very fast, and then there is another plane coming into landing at the exact same runway, so that eventually at very high speed they crash to each other and then killing all the people on board.
Later on, under a lot of investigations, they found out there were 11 separate minor mistakes to cause this serious event.
The most important thing is, if any of these 11 mistakes were not made in the precise order, then the crash would have been prevented.
Yep, so you must take note of those little things because, as we mentioned earlier, little things actually can compound into extraordinary things. It's actually crazy to see how much things can go wrong even they're well planned initially.
But once you start noticing the patterns beneath the surface, everything changes and you could be more successful in life.
As promised earlier, we'll be covering 8 lessons that we learned from this book, which help us a lot and we think will be benefit to y'all. We are only covering 4 today, but the next 4 lessons, which are even more in-depth, will be shared during the next podcast. So stay tuned.
Bye.
Bye.